The world is taking more steps towards a single global religion, with Catholicism and Islam virtually coming together. They claim to worship the same God, being brothers and sisters on different paths, under the umbrella of the Abrahamic religions, which include Judaism, Islam, and Christianity, except true Christianity. Catholicism is uniting under a single world religion. The recent prominent event was the 7th Congress of Leaders of World and Traditional Religions, which took place on September 14th and 15th and concluded last Thursday. Before delving into details about this, it's important to mention the construction of the Abrahamic Family House in Abu Dhabi. This site serves as a religious center where Catholics, Muslims, and Jews can gather to worship together, representing the union of the Abrahamic religions. The reason this is important is because 2 Thessalonians 2:4 tells us that the Antichrist will demand worship for himself and his image from everyone, and anyone who does not worship him will die. In fact, they will become martyrs because the only people who will not worship him will be true believers in Jesus Christ, which is not mentioned by Pope Francis at any of these major meetings. So let me read some of this article about it. The leaders of world religions today adopted the document on human fraternity signed by His Eminence the Grand Imam of Al-Azhar and Chairman of the Muslim Council of Elders, Dr. Ahmed Al-Tayyib, and His Holiness Pope Francis of the Catholic Church in Abu Dhabi in 2019. And this happened during the 7th Congress of Leaders of World and Traditional Religions, which concluded on Thursday. Some highlights from the World Congress of Religions: we note that pluralism in terms of differences in skin color, gender, race, language, and culture are expressions of God's wisdom and creation. Religious diversity is allowed by God, and therefore any coercion into a specific religion, and religious doctrine is unacceptable. So, as you can see, they are not saying here in these meetings that Jesus Christ is the Son of God, the Messiah, the only way to heaven, because that would contradict Islam and Judaism. So, they are uniting everyone, renouncing the truth here. Everyone is just coming together to get along, to renounce the truth, which is that salvation is found only through Jesus Christ. Going back to the article, we say that we recognize the importance and value of the document on human fraternity for world peace and coexistence between the Holy See and Al-Azhar al-Sharif. And then they mention 2 different documents that were resolved and signed by the United Nations General Assembly, as well as the Mecca Declaration adopted in Mecca in 2019. And these call for peace, dialogue, mutual understanding, and mutual respect among believers. We are facing difficult times when prophecies are coming true, but many do not realize what is happening around the world. For this reason, I decided to make my digital book, The Secrets Behind the Prophecies of the Bible, available so that you can download it immediately in the first pinned comment. This book will help you unravel all the secrets of biblical prophecies that can transform your life. Don't waste time. Click on the first pinned comment, as we only have a few units available, and it will soon be taken off the air. Access now and secure your digital book. So, it's really the union of all these religions under the fact that we need to coexist together. And yes, of course, we need to coexist together. But the problem here is that they are starting to direct this to serve the same God, worship the same God. These Abrahamic religions are just different expressions of God for different people, and that is an absolute lie. The Jewish people are stuck in the old covenant, not accepting the new covenant. Islam is clearly, the Quran was written 600 years after the Bible, and they clearly copied stories. Muhammad copied and manipulated to create his own religion in the same region from the same stories. Muhammad even demanded that the original manuscripts of the Quran be destroyed. Why would he demand that? Because to cover up, obviously. So, the truth is within the biblical text alone, within the Old and New Covenants mixed, salvation through Jesus Christ alone. So, in fact, It was this document of human fraternity. It was signed by the Pope and this great Imam and adopted at the 7th Congress of World Leaders and Traditional Religions in Kazakhstan. It is the union of the world under a single world religion that the Antichrist will eventually head. A glimpse of the 7th Congress of World Leaders of Traditional Religion appears in the Vatican News, and I was reading this article and noticed something interesting, that the Congress, the 7th Congress of World Leaders of Traditional Religion, came to life in 2003 in the wake of the tragic September 11 attacks in the United States and following Pope John Paul II's Second Assisi Spirit meeting in 2002. So here's one more thing that came out of the September 11 attacks, quite interesting to note. It is worth noting about this interreligious meeting is that it took place inside a pyramid. Somewhat strange that this is their choice for the building. Also, Pope Francis said that his goal for this meeting was peace and unity. Of course, very similar to what we know in 1 Thessalonians 5. 3. Peace and security is what they will be saying. And then sudden destruction comes upon them as labor pains upon a pregnant woman, and they will not escape. And that is really the central point of this whole meeting and this union of religions. Not that we should not get along, and not that we should not be killing each other or anything like that, but the fact that we are trying to unite under peace and security. That is exactly what the Bible says. They will be doing because they are abandoning the truth that Jesus Christ is the way to salvation, which is the true love and peace that people need to realize. And just accepting the false doctrines and false teachings of everyone for peace and security, and that will cause sudden destruction. Pope Francis also said at this meeting that the best way to stop religious extremism is not through following the teachings of Jesus Christ, but actually through political democracy. So, just reinforcing the fact that what the Antichrist will have, which will be the single world government, the single world religion, and again Pope Francis does not mention the truth that salvation is found only through Jesus Christ, but actually says this, and that is from the Vatican News in the article called Pope in Kazakhstan Key Religions to Building World Peace and Understanding. In reference to this meeting that happened, in his speech to the Congress, the Pope began by addressing everyone as brothers and sisters in the name of the fraternity that unites us as children of the same heaven. He noted that in the face of the mystery of the infinite that transcends and attracts us, religions remind us that we are creatures, not omnipotent, walking towards the same celestial goal. I mean, it came out of his own mouth. The fact that people who are Catholics do not realize that this guy is pushing for a single world religion is insane. It's absolutely clear as day that this is what he's pushing for. Since we're all going towards the same celestial goal as Muslims, who actually have written on the dome of the rock building in Jerusalem, actually say that God has no son. And then they want to unite Catholicism with people who say God has no son because it's clearly written clear as day in the Bible that you have to acknowledge Jesus as the Son of God to find salvation through him. Everything in the New Testament has to be believed 100% true for you to find your salvation. That's the full truth found only in the Bible and the New Covenant and the new teachings. And if you're giving up on that to find peace, and if you're giving up on that to find peace and unity with other religions just to get along because you don't like to disagree with people, you're in big trouble. Revelation even says that the cowardly are cast into hell. So don't be cowardly when it comes to the things of Jesus Christ and the truth of the Bible. Now, again, it's worth noting quickly that I wouldn't have a problem if all these people came together and said, hey, we shouldn't be killing each other and we shouldn't be warring against each other, because that's not good. That makes sense. But when they're starting to say these things about us, all being brothers and sisters advancing towards the same celestial goal, and though this was between Islam and Catholicism, it was also noted by a Vatican source that Judaism was there as well as Buddhists. So we have this union of the single world religion that will come to fulfill 2 Thessalonians 2:4. Everyone will worship the beast. Also worth noting are the Abraham Accords. Before the election of Donald Trump, he declared that the number one goal of his presidency would be to achieve peace between Israel and its Arab neighbors. After 3 years of determined diplomacy, President Trump surprised the world by announcing a peace agreement between Israel and the United Arab Emirates. A few days later, Bahrain announced that it too would establish peace with Israel on September 15, 2020. Representatives from Israel, the United States, the United Arab Emirates, and Bahrain met in Washington, D.C. on the lawn of the White House. There they signed the Abraham Accords again. This unity towards this unity, which is interesting, and because of Daniel 9:27, it is prophesied in the Bible that a peace agreement will be signed between Israelis and Palestinians just 7 years before the Battle of Armageddon and the physical return of Jesus to earth. The prophecies found in Daniel 9:27 say, "And he shall confirm the covenant with many for 1 week, and in the midst of the week he shall cause the sacrifice and the oblation to cease. And for the overspreading of abominations he shall make it desolate, even until the consummation, and that determined shall be poured upon the desolate." This prophecy states that the Antichrist will confirm the Abrahamic covenant with many for 7 years. Remember that the covenant God made with Abraham declared that Abraham's seed would dwell in the land of Israel. The Abraham Accords are signed by Bahrain and the United Arab Emirates, recognizing that Israel has the right to exist and the land given to them by the Abrahamic covenant. So, the question that must be asked is the signing of the Abraham Accords and the confirmation of the covenant that marks the beginning of the last 7 years? It may be interesting to observe and point out, but we will see, of course, as time goes on. It is also worth noting that Jared Kushner played a major role in getting this Abrahamic agreement signed. In fact, all this is just preparing the stage for the last biblical prophecies to be fulfilled. We do not know the timeline. We do not know these things. There are many interesting things that seem to indicate that this could happen, like Pope Francis being the last pope, if the prophecy of St. Malachi is true and real. But people are saying that he may resign and then another pope resigned before him. So if that happens, maybe these two are illegitimate popes and there are still 2 more to fill the 112. There are so many different things that can happen, just as now, when we look at biblical prophecies in the Old Testament, everything makes sense now. But at the time, it was people thought this was going to happen, and it didn't happen. People thought something else was going to happen, and it didn't happen. Same with the coming of Jesus. And then expected the Messiah to be this war hero to free them, to free the Jewish people from the Romans, and it wasn't anything like that. But Jesus tells us that it is important to observe and seek the signs of the times, just like the fig tree. And many things are happening that really seem to indicate that this is beginning to happen and that these prophecies are being fulfilled. So, it's important to observe. But when these things don't materialize as we expect, or if they're early stages or seeds or whatever, then you know it's important to observe and just see how these things unfold in the end. But clearly, all these things moving in this direction are moving towards the last days and the Antichrist coming and these last prophecies being fulfilled. I also know that I saw many people on my TikTok page saying that they are worried and afraid and scared. None of my references to prophecy are to cause fear or scare people. And it's important to note 2 Peter 3:13-14, which really came to me at the perfect time when I was really meditating on how to share this with people so that they don't have to be afraid. And then that turned out to be the verse I was reading that night from the Bible Proof of God in my book. And that's one of those little ways he talks to you when you're seeking him, and it says, "But we, according to his promise, look for new heavens and a new earth, in which dwells righteousness. Therefore, beloved, looking forward to these things, be diligent to be found by him in peace, without spot and blameless." So really, We are looking forward to the hope in Jesus Christ returning so that we don't have to fear. We don't know the timeline. We don't know if this is the beginning of the 7 years, or if it won't start for another 50 years. All we need to do is seek Jesus Christ, seek the truth. He calls us to watch for the signs. So it's good to watch for the signs and then live life with righteousness and according to His ways. Don't be afraid. Be eager for the things, because what we have coming for eternity, billions and trillions of years, is beyond anything we can imagine, and how great the glory will be. So, there's no reason to fear, and if anyone here really goes through some kind of hard thing like martyrdom or severe persecution, we are informed that if we share in the suffering of Christ for His name, the glory and reward we have in heaven will be tremendous. So, everyone in heaven who is persecuted for Jesus or for His name or for the cause of Christ are not disappointed for having gone through that, because the reward in heaven is beyond anything we can imagine. So, don't be afraid of the times we're in. I just wanted to mention that to people here. But absolutely what we're seeing between Catholicism, Islamism, and Judaism is a union to come together for peace and security that will lead to a single world religion, which will lead to the Antichrist rising and saying, "I am God, you need to worship me." And people who don't believe in Jesus Christ, that's not the message being told in these Abrahamic unions. They will give in and receive the mark in the hand or forehead or worship the image and the beast, and these people will not be saved. So, it's important to be aware and awake to this fact. Salvation is found only in Jesus Christ, and we should not give up this absolute truth under any circumstances. That's the only way to salvation. Thank you for watching, and may God bless you. And don't forget to get your digital book because it's running out.